Do I love God more? Do I love me? I call it the street, Jesus.
Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper, you are Live from the Path.
Listening to Live from the Path. We're coming to you from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. Hey, it's good to see you tonight. I can't see you. That's a lie. I got to stop saying that stuff. It makes it sound like I can peep into your house, and that's not what's happening.
Path, we see you.
We know what you're doing.
Really bad.
Yeah, you're right. We got to change
We can't do that one.
Put that down.
We are not the right kind of people to say, hey, we see you right now. That's creepy for us.
Okay. All right. Anyway, we're on the internet. You what you want to do. Hey, hey, we got an awesome show tonight. I'm actually very, very excited. We are talking to Bobby Depper, and he's with the Thankful Leper. And I'll give you just a quick introduction of kind of how I came to know him, or know about him. We've met recently, and then I will let him kind of take over the conversation. And just before the show even started, he's got a lot of really, really cool stories of what God's going on in his life. And I think what we're going to come away with, and I hope that you come away with as well, is perhaps recognize the call that God has on your life entirely. But I think this will help kind of refine something that maybe you've been feeling that might be has been nebulous in your life. Like I hear these things and I want to do something, but I don't feel like I can. I think Bobby will put some arms and legs to that thing. So I'm excited for that. So anyway, my wife had shared something on her Facebook page about the Thankful Leper, and I thought, hey man, that's a cool name for something. And so she explained it to me, and to be honest, I was getting dressed, and I get dressed in the dark. I've gone to work a couple times with my shirt on backwards because I don't want to wake people up as I'm leaving, because no one gets up at the same hour I do. So it's kind of in the dark, and sometimes people in my house are mumbling at me when I'm trying to leave, so I don't pay a lot of attention. But the name stuck with me, the Thankful Leper. And so I saw.
Wait, so you're getting dressed and she's mumbling a happy leper?
Yeah, no,
you're like, what?
No, it happened to say something to me, and then they just kind of go back to sleep. But I remember that phrase, and I noticed that later in the day she had shared it on her Facebook page. It was a link, so I kind of read through it, and I got to know a little bit about Bobby and his story, and basically, what I'm reading is that there is a man who has a very intimate association with homelessness, been a part of it himself, been helping people that have also been homeless, and it put a little fire on me to think, how many times do we step back and say, hey, I don't know how to help, or I don't know if I have room or time, or my circumstances don't permit this, and the very people that sometimes we step back and say, I don't know if I can help them, there's a guy that's in it and working hard within it to try to impact people both for their physics. It's the thing where it should stop some of the things that it help us identify some of the barriers that we have and then ignore them completely. And so I kept reading, and we've been following along kind of on Facebook, some updates, and I thought, he's just got some stories that I think other people need to hear. And so we invited him on, and that's why he's in the studio here tonight. So I'm going to let you get to know him a little bit more through his own words. Bobby Depper, thanks for joining us on Live from the Path.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you're very welcome. So one of the things I tried to give a synopsis, and I did it poorly, I think. So maybe if you could help people understand what the Thankful Leper is, and then I think we'll talk a little bit about your background and kind of where all that is coming from. So maybe just to start, what is the Thankful Leper?
Well, the Thankful Leper is a street ministry here in Des Moines. I go out and do outreach. Actually, I have a journal that I like to go out and beat my feet for Jesus Christ and go out and find people in Christ that are my family members that are in need of spiritual guidance. They're brokenhearted. They need love, and they need to know that they are loved. And I try to help provide them with material things that they need that society turns an eye to.
So you didn't tell me a little about how you got started, and I think from what I read on the website, it all kind of starts in Texas.
It does.
Yeah. So maybe help me with that. Tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to doing this.
Well, I was homeless for many years in Dallas, Texas. I was living in an alley behind a fire station, and one night a storm had came and it totally destroyed my campsite. All my medicines got wet, my food got wet, my blankets got wet, and it was late. It was real late. Society had already gone to bed. There was no one else for me to turn to for help. So I just patience, and I'm tired of being sick, cold, and hungry. And the rain still kept coming. Lightning was coming. I had tree limbs falling down on me and on my dumpster, that is. So I just decided to take a walk to a free newspaper machine to get all the publications that the box had. And I remember that publication to this day. It was called the Dallas Observer. And I was walking back to my dumpster in the rain and the tears, and I thought to myself, why doesn't society observe homelessness? I mean, they think that they do when they fund those big name agencies, but in reality, they don't do as half as much as the society likes to think that they do.
Yep.
Often there's a big long waiting list. Many of them are corrupt. It's a horrible situation. So I took those publications and I climbed in that dumpster. Now I was able to see out of both eyes. As you can see, I only have one eye now today, but I was able to see out of both eyes when I climbed in that publications and cried myself to sleep. And as I was crying myself to sleep, I was wiping the tears from my eyes, and I did eventually manage to get to sleep. But when I woke up the next morning, I had eye pain and I had other problems going on in my inner body. And having advanced AIDS, I was really afraid that I was going to die. Now, I forgot all about that prayer when I woke up the next morning because I had those issues I had to deal with all the pains in my body. So I realized I needed to get to the hospital. I needed to get to the hospital fast. So I climbed out of that dumpster, and it was just about lunchtime, getting ready to start lunch, about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and Chris was setting up his valet stand. He's a valet attendant at a restaurant next door at my campsite in the alley. And I explained to Chris what happened. I was asking him for some change to get to Parkland Hospital there in Dallas. And as a $1 million fancy car, and the man gets out and had heard what had asked Chris because his window was down, and he said from behind me to Chris, "Don't give him no change to get to the hospital." And my right eye was already teared up because it was in a lot of pain, but now my left eye was starting to tear up because I thought, who could say something like that? I was really starting to cry. I thought, who could say that? And so as I turned around and asked the man, why would he say such a thing? He had a $100 bill in his hand, and he had actually even heard my name. And when I was talking with Chris, because Chris had said, Bobby, I don't have it right now, I just started. But he said, Bobby, I'll get you to the hospital. And he was handing me a $100 bill. And now he was on my right side, the bad side, so I couldn't see who that was. And so I turned a little further there, and Lord and behold, it was Tony Romo. The Dallas guy, Tony Romo. I didn't really, And so we actually had about a 7-minute conversation. So I got to talk with Tony for a little bit. But I think that was God's way of saying, Bobby, I have heard your prayer and I'm now answering you. However, I had not picked up on it at that point. I had these pains going on, so I needed to get to the hospital. I did manage to eventually make it to the hospital, and I managed, of course, I'll live by the grace of God. But while I was there, the hospital staff swung into quick action to get me Social Security disability benefits. And you guys probably don't know anything about Social Security, but it's really, really challenging to get it. It takes months, sometimes even years. But those folks actually got it for me practically overnight, and I think that God had a hand in that again. So there's a couple of different things that's going on. We see God in action after that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So after I got my first check, I went to my alley, back to the dumpster. You guys are probably wondering why. I had friends in that alley, and I wanted to move them in with me, and so I did. And I remember that campsite, that dumpster was behind that fire station, and the firemen they used to come back there and check on me every now and then, bring me some stuff, and believe it or not, this station was actually in the high nightclub district, and I used to go run up to the doorbell, ring the night doorbell. There's a fight in the corner. We need this guy's knocked out, or a lady hit her car in the pole, or whatever, and you go get help. And so I'm ringing the doorbell. What you got this time, Bobby? What happened to your eye? I had a big old patch on my eye. I said, never mind the eye. So what do you mean, never mind the eye? I said, yeah, I got an apartment now. You do? I said, yeah, and I moved all my friends in with me. Captain said, well, I was wondering where they all went. I said, yeah, they moved in my house. And I said, Captain, I said, can you help us out? He said, what do you need? Give me 48 hours. We'll load it up. So they did. And they did. And so I guess about 2 months later, maybe, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but I had learned that the city council and the mayor, Tom Leper, was doing some budget cuts, and they were about to lose some equipment and also some shifting of some jobs, which I think would have lost some jobs and a lot of hours and whatnot.
Yep.
And now they could not campaign against the city because they work for the city. So God was making me feel pretty good about taking on the mayor, fresh out of a dumpster, in city council. And I was like, "You're kidding." So here I am with flyers in my hand, and I'm going up and down the streets, handing out flyers and telling people to help save the Engine 11 and Truck 11 and save their jobs. And I didn't really think it would get anywhere, but of course, one prayer behind that dumpster. Sometimes one prayer could change everything, and I'm a living testimony of that. As long as you hold faith. And but let me tell you, so I ended up on every news station in the city of Dallas. And after that aired, I thought God was asking me to take on that campaign to pay them back for the food and furniture, but it's actually a whole lot more than that because it actually opened doors for me. I ended up getting a job at the fire station. I was a custodian there. I waxed and cleaned the equipment, the trucks and whatnot, and I did a lot of things there, and it was pretty exciting. I worked there for about 3 years, but in the first couple months of that, the men were having dinner or lunch. I think it was lunch. Yeah, it was lunch at their table, and I just got through waxing the truck, and came in and I said, Captain and Blankenship and Lieutenant McGee, I said, what can you do? You were just on the news for saving our jobs for city council, and you emptied out the alley of all the homeless. What more can you do? I said, well, I'm feeling pretty powerful. God is really working in my life, and I said, I've got a dozen or so homeless people in helping me. I think that I just know I can do a whole lot more. And Captain's like, well, I believe in you. You can do anything you want. And Lieutenant's like, yeah, the station's yours. Captain says, yeah, you can do anything you want, but just don't burn it down. It's a whole fire station. So
Holy cat! So if you're just joining the conversation, here's what I've gotten so far. Okay, Bobby's a homeless man. He's living in a dumpster. He runs. He prays in a moment of significant need. Reaches out to God. Within a matter of time, he has met Tony Romo, who's medicine and attention that he needed. He's secured a place to live. By doing so, he's also helped the other homeless that are in that area secure a place to live, have a place to be.
that's right.
He has worked to save the job of the folks at the fire department who are otherwise providing some assistance to him as they're homeless. So and then subsequently secured a job there. And now through your interaction with them, they've basically said, here's our facility. It would be ironic if you burned it down, so don't do that. But otherwise, we believe in you. Do what you're going to do. Am I getting that story right so far?
That's exactly right. That's
Holy
exactly
cats!
right.
I'm excited to know where this is going. So you have a fire station at your fingertips.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you do with it?
Well, I do a whole lot.
Hey, that's a weird context to stir up the police department. I like where this is going.
Yeah. So at any rate, AT&T was also next door, and so was a printing shop. Mike, I love the guy. He ran a printing shop. Him and Steve both did. And so I just stormed in there, and they're like, "What's up, Bobby?" I said, "No." He said, "I heard you're working at the station." And I said, "Yeah." And actually, I'm turning it upside down. I said, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, I need your help to do it." He said, "Oh, I don't know. I want to do that." They had no idea what I was coming to him for at that moment in time. And I said, well, Captain and Blankenship Lieutenant McGee have given me a little bit of money here to make some flyers up, and they've given me permission to run a food drive there. And he said, well, let's do it. So they actually get some hard card stock. I learned that's what they call it. Is it card stock? Yeah.
Yeah, like the thicker.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
thick. Yeah, so hard card stock, and they actually put the fire station, Dallas Fire Department emblem on it. And so I think it was a couple thousand flyers that I made up, and I took them door to door. And when I did that, I was actually pushing a dolly that was strapped. There was two plastic bins that were strapped to this dolly, and I was going door to door, asking people for food and let them know that my story and I needed food, and someone would give me food, and the ones that weren't home or didn't have time or didn't have carry food because they always ate out. Because most of the people in Highland Park, by the way, the bubble, they all eat out.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about one of the wealthiest parts, the wealthiest part of Dallas, Texas. But so I would leave them a flyer, and then if they chose to, they can always come by the station, drop off a box or two of goods. But the troublesome part was the ones that gave me the food, and then I just had to push this long, heavy, durable dolly, heavy dolly itself. So
Yep.
I'll be bringing supplies back that way. But anyway, so people would bring stuff by the station, and that went on for quite a while. But I don't know if any of y'all know this, but there's a trend nationally going on. Some laws that are being passed making it difficult for people that are homeless. And one of those laws was was unfolded in Dallas, and that was against the law to feed homeless. In addition to that, my apartment complex was the last little rickety shack apartment in the bubble in Highland Park, or on the verge of Highland Park. And so I was already a sore eyesight, and then Bobby moves in, and he moves in homeless, all the homeless, and so they didn't like the idea of that, so the neighborhood association collectively stirred up a lot of action to try to make that difficult. Before that, I actually had a few police officers on my team because two officers I needed for the apartment, and some of the regular beat officers that knew me on the street, they were very supportive. But when they did the police shifting, they did a lot of shifting when they did all this, and then they passed the laws. When they passed that laws, I think they wanted to make it more difficult for everyone. So when they did that, they shut my little rickety shack apartment down.
I see.
But my mentor down there at the time was showing me more scripture about how man has no honor in his hometown, and how that came about, because I was asking, why am I not getting the kind of support that I need to make this grow? Why are they wanting to shut this down? And that's when he showed me that scripture. So after careful thought and prayer, I ended up in Des Moines. Before that prayer, that prayer of where am I going to go, I wanted to go to Omaha.
Uh-huh.
I had it all set up. I mean, I'm ready to go. I went to the library because I didn't know how to use computers. So I went to the library and could. I'm going to Omaha. 72 hours before I go, I'm sitting on my front porch of my apartment, and God tells me, you're not going to Omaha. You're going to Des Moines. I look up. I don't want to go to Des Moines. I don't want to go to Des Moines. But I see why he had me come here, though, because there are issues that the homeless are facing here in Des Moines. And then I also learned that he actually has had a team already waiting for me here to assist me. Some folks at Grandview College and Lutheran Memorial Church have been helping out, and a few friends of theirs as well.
So that actually is probably a good point to introduce Kevin McLean. Kevin, how did so? I think Bobby has a cool story about how you guys met. But let me ask you this: like, with the types of things that Bobby is doing, and he brings to
At my church, Lutheran Memorial Church, no. We're a smaller church, and it's a very active church, but not reaching out to the homeless. And it's something that I've done a little bit, previously, just in my life as a Christian, living in California, where I'm from, and so I'm out here. I've only been out here for just under a year. So, and no, we hadn't been doing those things previously.
Okay.
So it came as a big surprise.
So along the level of surprise, tell me how Bobby. Tell me how the two of you met.
Well, in Dallas, let's go back to Dallas for just a brief moment, because when I was in Dallas, I was trying to get churches involved in what I was doing, and based on my appearance, it made it very challenging. I mean, here I am, and then only that, down in Dallas, they couldn't get past seeing me as always that homeless guy.
Sure.
So, and if you go into church, from my from where I come from, not being Texas, being homeless and having a rough life. They always say you're welcome as you are, and often you go in there and try to get help or get some spiritual guidance. They'll give you a short welcome just for face amongst their peers, but is the welcome genuine? Often not, because they'll shake your hand, they'll turn, look the other way, and roll their eyes at their colleague or whatever, as like, oh God, what's this guy doing here?
Yeah.
And so after those doors just being shut in my face, and I had the same experiences when I got to Des Moines. So I went to a few churches here, and I received the same treatment. And so I kept telling God, I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I said, I out, and I know that you're not. So I'm going to keep serving you in the way that I do. Just going out and beating the feet, sharing the word that I've got, and sharing how I know you to other folks that are on the street.
Yep.
But he told me no. He told me I'm going to another church. And I was like, there's only one more church left that's close by. And I didn't want to go to it because it just didn't look like the place. It looked like it was going to be the worst one.
That's a bummer, Kevin.
Well, yeah, but it does because it's Grandview College. That's where all the
Right.
the big people are. You know, the ones
Yep.
that you would, you just wouldn't think it would be in the place.
Oh,
But-
sure.
So at any rate, so it was on a Sunday morning, and I'm crossing the big grassy field across the college, and I could see the church parking lot from a distance, and there's not a car there. I said, that's it. So he still has me keep walking, so I'm walking to the church door. I thought, well, I'm going to go see just, maybe there might be a pastor in there. Well, there's no car there. How's there going to be a pastor there? Well, maybe he's you. Maybe it's like you. Maybe he beat the feet to the church. I don't know. So I get to the door, and I'm pulling the door, and it's locked. Ching, 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 it's locked. So, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm leaving. So I actually turned my body physically around, and I'm heading back to the house. And I made about 6 steps away, maybe 7. So God pulls me back to the door. So there I'm pulling the door. It's still locked, and I'm pulling it. Ding, 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 ding. Now, so I have a blind eye on the right side here. Now, I cannot see anything out of it. I can see the light, and if something's obstructing that light, I can see a shadow. So out of my blind eye, I see movement. I see somebody moving in the building. But they're going, I thought, oh, well, back door. I'm used to back doors, being in the alley all the time. I'm used to back doors, so that just was my calling to head to the back door. And that is where I found Mr. Kevin McLean, my pastor and my mentor, and he and I are actually really, really close friends, and he's a really good mentor and a very good pastor. And we actually complement each other in everything we do. It's like it was just totally put together by God. It's just amazing.
I agree. Yeah. And I mean that's how it went down. And I came walking out the door thinking we had our church picnic that Sunday. The one Sunday a year we don't do church at 10 o'clock in the morning. And and here comes Bobby strolling up. Hi, I'm Bobby. And man, he led into his story. And I said, well, you know what? Let's hop in the car and we'll drive down and we'll do church. And kind of the rest is history. And I could see that Bobby's a passionate guy.
Yep.
And that he had a passion for something that there's a real need for it here. And this being my first time ever having a winter, coming from Southern California,
Right.
I could see
Texas.
that this is not the place to be homeless. You could be easier in other places. And I saw that he was out there doing the work. He wasn't coming to say, "Is it okay if I go do the work?" He never stopped to ask for permission. He just was doing it.
Yeah.
And he was looking for someone to help. And I'm pretty comfortable sharing the word. So I said, "Yeah, let's do this." And so we formed a partnership. And like Bobby says, we complement each other. Bobby has the incredible story and the testimony by just an ordinary dude. And and I try and handle some of the other behind the scenes, I suppose, sides of ministry and so forth. And then I go out and help, and we go and feed people and go talk to people and get to know them and speak closer into the mic, and do all of that. So yeah, that's what we're up to these days.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he got the hard work, because I like when I go out and spend God's money. When I go out and spend God's money, I don't like keep track of that stuff. So I get to dump all the receipts in his lap, and they're always crumpled up because I'm on the go. I just shove them in my back pocket. I'm not one of those people that I have to be perfectly organized. I'm from the street. We don't have to keep. I used to just throw them down on the ground. I didn't keep track of it. But now that I've got where I'm getting now, it's like now I have to keep track of this stuff. Well, I'm not keeping track of it. He is.
Somebody else got that under
Yeah,
control.
he can do all that. I just like taking them out to eat and I let them know they're loved, and I just dump the trash bag with receipts on his lap with him.
I think that's all right.
Yeah, I love it. I
That's
just
all
love
right.
it. I just love it. Let him handle that.
Actually, I got some receipts I might be sending you.
Yeah, right.
I don't like.
You say that's all right because they're not coming to your life.
I don't like
buddy.
dealing with
Let me
mine. Okay, so now that you've kind of made the trek to the Des Moines area, you've hooked up with Kevin, and the question is so like, what have your days, what do your weeks look like? What types of things are you able to do? What kind of barriers have you run into trying to do those things, and what kind of successes have you seen?
Well, I've had a few successes and I've had a few barriers. I mean, there's a lot
Yep.
going on there. One, for example, Steve, I actually encouraged him to actually seek out employment. He had got a job at the fair. It was a temporary job, but actually, it was during the day and he was off, and I found him again at the library. He was sitting at a computer, and I was like, well, "What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be working?" He said, "No, I don't work till the evening hours." And he said, "Well, your story has inspired me, Bobby." And he said, "I'm actually looking for a regular job for when the fair ends."
Huh.
So that was kind of exciting. And one of the things that I'm really concerned about is I'm a patriotic American. Not only am I a Christian, but I'm a patriotic American. And what troubles me is my homeless vets. I have a few stories that I don't do on my Facebook. So if anyone's on Facebook, the community page is called the Thankful Leper, and my personal page is Bobby Depper. You'll find all the stories on there. Some of the troubling things that I'm seeing is, the city is doing some very bad things in the homeless community. They're throwing away their sleeping bags and their backpacks and whatnot. And I like. In addition to that, may I go into the other aspect I was getting to?
Oh,
Or
absolutely,
is it
yeah.
too soon, or is it too?
No,
Okay.
no, go ahead.
All right. Well, as a man climbing out of a dumpster and coming into Christianity, let me go back to when I was in the dumpster for a moment, because I used to walk by churches on Sunday mornings, heading to here and there to panhandle or do something to get some kind of money to get some food, and I would see a lot of Christians come out of their churches, and churches would just let out their dress in their finest clothes, and their cars are pulling out by their husbands or their wives to pick them up, and the looks and the expressions that they would give me was heartbreaking. And I used to walk by. Used to think, well, church. This is supposed to be a place where there's a God and that loves, and they're supposed to love me, and they're supposed to love. If that's what that book is gonna do to me, I don't think I'd want anything to do with that book. But and that was before that prayer behind that dumpster. But after that prayer behind the dumpster, all these wonderful things that's happened. I mean, there at that point I realized there's got to be a God. So I thought to myself, I said, what, there has to be a God, but who is this God? What God is this? And there's many different kinds of religion. But I thought to myself, well, I'm gonna learn more about that book called the Bible first, because there's more people reading that. So I'm gonna read some of that. So I got to where I was reading some of that, and I thought to myself, I said, well, I think there is something here. I think there's a lot here. I said, don't think it's the wordage in the book. I think it's the people. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe he wants to use me to change some of that.
Mhm.
I thought, well, he's used me to change what's going on in Dallas with the mayor and the fire department. Why can't I? I'm powerful. If your word, Father, says I can do anything that with you before me. So why not?
Yeah.
And here I am. I'm Lord and behold in a radio station. I can't believe this. And one of the things I see is that there's many divisions. There's a lot of division between Christians, whether it be members of church being divided for political reasons, or whether it be denomination. All these different reasons, and I just don't think that that's the way God sees it. I don't think there's going to be any denomination or any political things going on in heaven. And if it's,
That wouldn't be heaven.
and if it's,
Uh-huh.
we need to get to doing. God's watch is ticking, and so I would like to see the Thankful Leper open up a place that serves multiple purposes. Ben, you have a church that you go to, and everyone has a church that you're going to go to.
Yeah.
I can't remember everyone's name here, but we all continue to go to our church on Sunday. But Monday through Saturday, each of us will have an hour or two off, and we want to serve the Lord. Let's go to the Thankful Leper and have fellowship, bringing the body of Christ together. And so as we're fellowshipping, and Ben and I or somebody, or we'll sit and talk for a little while. You're from so and so church. We'll get to know each other, and well, hey, that sounds pretty cool. Why don't we do some outreach together? So we'll pair up and we'll step off to the next room next door. Well, what is in the next room next door? Well, here in Des Moines and other cities around the country are laying around at their campsites when they're out in the field trying to better themselves. And it's very costly and expensive to continue to replace those things, as many of us Christians are going out there and providing needs. I think that it would be ideal if we had in that second room a locker room. Because if I was homeless and I'm sleeping behind a grocery store or behind a McDonald's or wherever it is I'm camping out at, if when I wake up in the morning, I can roll that bedroll out and I can package up my things in that backpack and I could toss it in that locker room.
Yeah.
And while I'm there, I can pick up a bus token and go out and try to better myself for the day. And then at the end of that day, when I come back to retrieve my things out of that locker, when I open that locker, some mail just might pop out that the staff has inserted into the mailbox, to the locker for me. So this facility will serve multiple purposes. It's gonna bring the body of Christ together. Sometimes pastors can actually get in the way of some good things happening. I think there's a lot of people sitting in church benches in many churches all across the land that would want to get active and want to do some things, and they're not doing it for whatever reasons that their church is not doing whatever they're not doing. I don't know. And another thing too is that there's a lot less seats being filled in many churches, and it's for that reason because they're not active. I think that we need to be about it more than talk about it. Don't get me wrong. I love going to church. I love singing. I love hearing the word. I love hearing the sermons. But I really like right after church I go grab a quick lunch and I like to go out and beat my feet. I beat my feet for Jesus and I go out and serve Him in work. And I think that's what it needs to be about. Some people can't do it. They're walking down the alley or walking into the deep woods looking for a campsite. But what you can do is come to the Thankful Leper and take part in fellowship with other brothers and sisters in Christ from other churches, bringing the body together, and then again stepping over into the locker room and meet your homeless brothers and sisters and see how you can help them. They might need a prayer, they might need a bus token or they might need anything, information, tips on where they might be hiring. Just reach out.
With your experience both being homeless and also now working a lot with the homeless, what things do we not understand correctly? Like what story, what narrative that the public sees do you feel like they miss?
I am your brother in Christ. I am a human being. I am a person, and I shouldn't have to point out that God commands you that you love me. It's just that simple. I may not look like you. I might only have one eye, and my face might be sunken in. In some cases, I might not have shaved. I may not be wearing a clean shirt. But you know what? Jesus loves me just as much as He loves you. And if it must be done on earth as it is in heaven, we need to get to doing, and we must get to doing quick. Because I personally believe that we're in the last days, and I think God's watch is ticking. And I think we better get to doing pretty quick.
So you had talked about this space. So was that is that in the thought phase? Like, is there anything?
The bedroom, I don't sleep in it. It's just a room that I use for supplies, my desk, and all that stuff. But I'm looking to get people in the community of Des Moines and metropolitan, or even in the state, to get together to create this place where this could take place, and create a model for other cities to follow. So that way each facility in each city can do some networking and connecting. So it really bring the full body of Christ together. So we got to start here in Des Moines. We've got to get a building and get these two rooms. Might be a third room because you might need a room for staff to serve food or whatever.
Oh, sure.
But the main room is for fellowship. It can be open Monday through Saturday. Have a little coffee bar there. Everybody can have coffee or snacks and everybody from every church coming in together and meeting. I mean, this is not going to take place at your normal Sunday service or normal church. When you want to do more than sing and dance, when you actually want to do something for Christ, come and do some fellowship, and then reach out into the locker room or maybe even pair up with somebody and do something different and outreach. It doesn't always have to be homeless. There's other things that can be done in the community, but the idea for this place for fellowship is to share ideas, thoughts, and opinions. I'm not the best guy on the block, but I think the first thing we had to do is have fellowship. How are we gonna solve any issues that are going on if we don't have communications?
Right.
If we're gonna stay divided for political or denomination or whatever reason, I don't care what reason it is, and I don't care what job you have, I don't care who you are in society, you've got 2 hours a week. You can come in to Thankful Leper or to this facility, wherever, if it's here in Des Moines or wherever it's at, and have fellowship with your brothers and sisters in Christ. You're working 40 hours a week for life. I think you could spend a couple of hours a week.
Yeah, no, I agree. Actually, and that comparison is a stark one, is it not? 40 hours of working for life. Can you not spare 2 for Christ? Especially one that's serving other people. I think sometimes what we do is we compartmentalize and say, oh, but I spent X hours at the church building, which orients again our faith as to an event, not a lifestyle, right? And we think about it in those terms. Yeah. So Kevin, maybe you can help kind of articulate. So what's how can people get involved? Like what avenues can they kind of interact with the Thankful Leper?
Sure. And right now, we have a website set up. We have the Facebook page, which Bobby mentioned. It's just Facebook, the Thankful Leper, and then also the website, the Thankful Leper. It's .squarespace. Journal, Beat the Feet, what Bobby's been up to, and not just Bobby, but also the people who go out in the field with Bobby and help out and do the work. And that's the best way to get in contact. There's a contact us part on the page there. And it's real simple. You get in contact with us, you get in contact with us. There's no intermediary. You'll talk to Bobby, you'll talk to myself, you'll talk to some of the other people who are helping out. And you choose your level of involvement with this. It's if you want to be a part of going out and preaching Christ to people, come and do it.
Wear good shoes.
Right.
wear good shoes because we'll be beating the feet. Wear good shoes. I love to have beat the feet partners.
Yeah, no, and you go out and do that, but that's not for everybody. Some people, look, you've got some treasure. There's some people out there who, legitimately, someone who's really introverted. I don't expect that God's moving you to go out and to strike up a conversation with someone you've never met.
Sure.
But maybe there's a way you could donate something. You can donate your time. You can donate your skills and abilities. We have people that and thank the Lord for them, that are good with the website.
Yeah.
So John and Tanya, I'm talking about you. Thank you. That manage the website. That's brilliant because I'm terrible in that way.
Yeah.
And Bobby is even worse than me. If it was
I'm
possible.
very new.
So,
I've been living in a dumpster for 20 years. I can barely use a computer. I'm just barely by the skin of my teeth. And by the way, I don't have any teeth. I'm able to pull off the.
There's the problem.
I'm able to pull out the Facebook, but I'm able to manage my own Facebook account. In fact, Tanya is trying to get me to site. Like I said, the site is the thankfulleper.squarespace.com. And the community page that they set up for me is called The Thankful Leper. And then I have my personal page, which is Bobby Depper. But I'm trying to get everyone to, they want me to get everyone to the thankfulleper.squarespace because that's where all the stuff is. Or I don't know how that
everything hangs together.
Yeah, so that's where it's all at. So,
but
and Kevin's right. If you don't have a lot of time, that's fine. I'm definitely looking for people that want to hit the streets with me. If you're not available to do time, there are other ways you can help. One of the big things that we're needing is some fast food gift cards because there are laws that prevent me from packaging up food and taking it out to the street.
Okay.
I really like doing Sundays, not only because, as I told you, I wanted to ask America to make every Sunday a national day that everyone goes out and helps someone in need. Like, I love my sermons, and I love singing and worshiping Christ at church, but I like really working for Him more and better so right after church. But here in Des Moines, it's difficult to find a hot meal downtown on Sunday. And there are certain days of the week they can't get access to different places, so I like to fill those voids. And so if you folks out there can arm me with some fast food gift cards so I can do that, that'd be great. In addition to that, I can't always carry a lot of sleeping bags around, so I often like to hit the Walmart up because they've gotten to know me real well, and I think I've got it to where I'm pretty close to being able to work the manager out with get me a percentage off soon. I haven't told you about that yet, but yeah. But so I can get.
I was wheeling and dealing without you.
Yeah. So
he's good like that.
Yeah, so I can get sleeping bags, and so I.
Yep.
And then of course I forgot what else was there. There's a lot of stuff on the website that's on there. Other things that can be donated as well.
Yeah, I would highly encourage you to go out and check out that Squarespace. It's Squarespace. It's the thankfulleper.squarespace.com. And it does have it's got a lot of very cool stories that you can kind of follow the folks that are with the Thankful Leper, what they're doing. There's some links on there to help fund, ways to contact. And he's right on. I think I sent you guys a note, and Bobby and I were talking about breakfast cereal within like 48 hours. Like,
Right, yeah.
it's just so yeah. And there's a real touch there to be able to get involved with what they have going on, and to be able to keep track. And there's a lot of ways to help, and I think prayers is certainly one of those, right? Like, it's if God work, praying for what that looks like, both for you, for your interaction, for other people that you may know, and just the work that's going on. If you don't feel like you can do anything else, you're praying for what the folks at the Thankful Leper have going on within our city. I think is a strong win regardless.
Well, what I tell people on social media, if they're not in the position to help, what they can do is share a post with a prayer. If you're not in the position to help, you can pass it down the line. Send it down the line. God will deliver it to who He wants to help, and who He'll speak to. So just share the post. I forgot what I was going to say the other thing. I forgot.
Well, I do. I have something too. I mean, when we talk about what can be done, I mean, we need prayer. We're Christians. Our lives are that He actually listens to us and He answers, and that's pretty cool. So definitely, I mean, pray for us. But then there is one thing that, and I swear everyone can do it, even the pirates out there. That it's how you look at people. And Bobby's talked about this a couple times indirectly, and that's the look. And we just call it the look, because it's the way that when you're driving down the street and your eye catches a homeless person and they see you, and it's, do you give them that look and you know the one everyone knows already without you? I mean, this is radio. You know what look I'm talking about.
I don't know that one.
Right, exactly. That's piety right there. So everybody else knows. No, dangerous. Maybe that guy's crazy. They see that look, and when we go out and we talk to people, what they say is, "Oh, somebody offered me, some food or whatever, but they gave me that look, and I told them, take a hike," and because they're seeing it every day.
Yeah.
It's dehumanizing, and every day they're seeing that look, and it's almost like Stockholm syndrome,
Yeah.
where they begin to believe about themselves what you're telling them with that look every day of their lives. And I've seen people who, when you don't, and they see that, it brings grown men to tears.
Yeah.
That they know you are looking at them like a human being.
Right.
Everyone can do it.
Isn't that kind of the funny part, though? Like, to even if all three of those things are true, even if they are on drugs, right, it should be the same look.
Right.
And so, like, I mean, that's a real solid point. Like, I mean, there's being cautious, but there's also being dehumanizing. And not seeing what it is. I mean, those are not disqualifications out of the kingdom of God for a man. You know what I'm saying? And so if God didn't make that distinction, who am I to make that distinction?
It hurts, trust me. And I still get those looks today in churches. And I'm not even homeless anymore. I just have that look that's going to stay with me forever because all the hard life that I've had. And it really hurts. Yeah. It really hurts. And especially sometimes I've had it happen with leaders of church. I'm like, you're leading this flock and I don't understand it. But it hurts.
Well, it's a blasphemy against God to look upon His creation and to say it's not good enough. God made that person in His image. I mean, he was a homeless guy. He didn't have a rock to lay his head on.
Amen.
You hear some of the stuff coming out of his mouth? He's a little crazy.
Right. Yeah. No, and he got that rap too while he was around. Let me tell you.
Yeah, he did.
But no, and they're children of God. You look. I mean, this is true in every walk of life. Homeless, single mothers, people in any kind of sin, whether it's something that you do and find acceptable or you don't do and you find disgusting. They're children of God. They're children of God, and God doesn't love them less because of their sin. Because of their sin, God sent His Son so that we would all be forgiven. That's the good news. that's what we're here to share. And you can't share that news with the look. You got to share it with the word.
I know one thing. It does say he will use the lowest of the lows, and I'm from the bottom of a dumpster. I don't know how much lower that you can get. So I'm actually I'm actually honored and glad that that God is using me to help others. But I can't do it alone. I
Right.
need the community support. So I'm hoping that I know everyone out there. It goes through a fast food restaurant at least 2 or 3 times a week for lunch in between lunch break. While you're there picking up that Big Mac or that chicken fingers or the bucket of chicken or whatever you're getting at whatever taco you're buying, think just give it some thought. Maybe picking up a gift card and send it to the Thankful Leper so they can get out to someone in need that's hungry.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, that's if you go to the thankfulleper.squarespace, excuse me, I'm gonna say that wrong every time. Squarespace. That's what's causing the holdup. I keep go Squarespace. So it's the thankfulleper.squarespace.com. Is a great repository for all that information. Also, if you're on Facebook, you should go like that page. If you're friends with Life from the Path, like what we like the Thankful Leper, so you can go out and see what we like and get a hold of that page and kind of see what's going on, and stay in contact. And I would urge you to react in a way that I think, sometimes we find a call to react. We feel like something needs to be done, and we kind of just let it pass. We kind of let it go by. That this, we really should do something, and then you don't.
Well, might I add on the website that my friend Tanya Pettit and Jonathan Pettit are managing, I think that there's a few things I'd like to point out on there. There are some posts, which is the thankfulleper.squarespace.com, which are the What Are We Going to Do post and Dear Society post. And those are some of the posts and the locker room posts. So there's 3 actually. So it's the What Are We Going to Do post, the Dear Society post, and the locker room post. I'd like to get those out there, not just here throughout Des Moines. I'd like to get them, if you share some of those posts, they'll get to other cities, because if we can get this built here in Des Moines, it'll be a model for other cities to follow, or maybe there'll be some people in another city that might be able to make it even happen faster, and we'll have to make a model after them.
Yeah, right. Right.
Never know how God moves, but we must act together as a body and get this information out there so that I think there's more people like me out there. I think I want to find out who they are, what their names are, and so we can get something happening.
Right. Given your intimacy with the work and stuff, people have a natural curiosity is how you are doing. So, would you be willing to share just how things are going in your own life?
Well, my AIDS status, I have a viral load that's gone up a little bit, which is not good. My CD4 my CD4 has been below 200, which is advanced AIDS. Once you get below 200, you got issues. So I'm having a few problems, but I stay strong and I give that to God, and He lifts me every day. And as long as I'm out there busy helping people, I don't think about it much, and part of it's mental. So as long as I stay positive, as long as God keeps moving hearts to keep me working, I do pretty good. On the financial side, so then I have medicine copays, electric and internet, and groceries, and so I often dig out of the dumpsters. So I'm still in the dumpster, I guess you'd say. I'm in there digging for dumpsters and aluminum cans to collect aluminum cans to support myself and to do my ministry. My doctor has been advising me against that. He's not wanting me to do that anymore. He's like, Bobby, you've already lost an eye living in the dumpster. And he said, if you keep doing this, the next one might be the big one. You might lose something more than an eye.
Right.
So him and the nurses are really, really all over me. They're really giving me a hard time, and especially when they draw my blood. My nurse was just teasing me the other day, Bobby, I'm going to take some extra tubes out if you tell me you're in the dumpster.
Hey, man, the nurses are... Okay. Yeah, definitely go check out the Squarespace site. Follow him on Facebook. We're gonna try to keep in touch to do the best we can to make sure that with whatever influence that we might be able to have, that we can kind of help continue to share your message, because that was one of the things that I was really we were talking after the show. You guys, seriously, one of the broad benefits, if you guys listen to Live from the Path, I would invite you, just let us know if you'd like to come in. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be on the radio. But just to be here kind of for some of the conversations that have to happen after the show. One of the base premises of the program is we're just some guys that love Jesus, and we're talking about what our lives look like, trying to follow Christ the best that we can. And so sometimes we're here for, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It's been up to 5 at some point. And we were even talking last week just about just the disconnect that sometimes feel like even we have a platform where do I think what we're doing is honoring Christ to talk about this stuff and have the chance to kind of voice discussion. Sure, I mean, God communicates with us through the Bible. God, it's not like he doesn't use that, but at some point, like, he's pointing you to something, to work. He's pointing you to beat the feet, right? Like he's pointing. He doesn't say these things so that we can agree with them. He says these things so we can agree with them, which translates to doing them. And so we were even talking about that last week after the show. And so there was that was kind of what took us to the point where I thought we had just seen God had brought an example to our in our purview to say, see, so someone's doing the work, and I'm working through that. And so it was an eye opener for us. It was an Bobby's doing, and through what the folks at the Thankful Leper are doing, and don't let that go by. Don't let that go by. I mean, it's weird how we can read Scripture and come to different conclusions than what Bobby has. When, like, at its base, it is not just information. It's a way to live. The cross itself was an ethic, and sometimes we get so steeped in the faith that we miss something. That someone who could approach the word for what it is, that you see naturally. And so don't let me encourage you, if I can, to not miss that. It's something that's been on my heart, and I think I need to be cautious of myself. And so yeah. Anyway, don't let that go by. And those associations with the Facebook page or with the following the blog, participating in what they have going on in whatever way you feel called to. And let me be careful with that, because sometimes I say you are not listening. That's the truth. Now, and to some of that Bobby was talking about earlier, is it may not be this. That could be true, but like if you feel like God has called you to a barker lounger, I'm gonna throw it out there that you might be missing it. You might be missing it. So I don't know. Err on the side of caution and get involved in something, because you don't need a double-edged sword that doesn't do anything. That's the truth. It moves mountains. It makes waves. It causes divisions because of what the truth that you're in the face of untruth that is around it. So you can't believe in a double-edged sword that doesn't do anything. Otherwise, it's just a fancy piece of metal. So get on board with that kind of stuff. So that's it.
And Ben, I wanted to ask one more thing. There was a lady at my church, but there's somebody out there that knows what church this is. But in Ames, there is a church that purchased a fitness facility. And I'd like to find out who that church is. I understand that facility had a bunch of lockers already in there, so I think God is working there already. I'd like to find out who that church is, and if we can possibly get those lockers. I'm sure that we can probably raise the funds to get them into a storage room until we did get a facility to put these lockers in.
Okay.
It's just a thought. In addition to that, I want everyone to know that Old Man Winter is around the corner, and I'd like to be poised in a position to be able to help many. And I can't do it alone, so please do visit thethankfulleper.squarespace.com or visit the Thankful Leper on Facebook or Bobby Depper on Facebook.
Very cool. Hey, you've been listening to Live from the Path. We've been talking to Kevin McLean and Bobby Depper from the Thankful Leper that you can. If you're listening on 99.3, we have got to let you go. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us. And make sure to check out the website, livefromthepath.org, during the week. You can find clips from the show. You can find clips from what we've talked about tonight. Sign up for the podcast. Also interviews, musical performances from bands that have been in here. There's a lot of guys doing a lot of great work for the kingdom. Make sure you're supporting that. And if you're on the podcast, hang tight. We'll be right back with you. You've been listening to Live from the Path. Hey, man, thanks for hanging out. If you're on the podcast, you make good life decisions. Sometimes you don't. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Bobby and Kevin are hanging out with us. We got some Dear Life from the Past on the docket paper.
Yeah, here's the thing. It may not as be the things that they ask may not be as life changing as maybe some of the things we've discussed earlier, but they certainly bear a minute or two's thought between the collective brain in the room.
Okay.
So here we go. Dear Life from the Past. My neighbor has a registered daycare business, and every day I hear her screaming at young children and infants.
Oh boy.
They are all 4-year-old and younger. We live in a rural area outside a small town. She uses profanity and says mean things to them. It makes me want to cry when I think of how scared those kids must be. Who do I contact with this information? I could record her with my phone if evidence was needed to shut down the business. The woman has a really bad anger management problem. She also knows that I can hear her because we have spoken about how our voices travel. I don't think she's being physically abusive, but her words must out in our backyard because she swears so much.
Holy cats, that's a lot of swearing.
Obviously.
So what's the right reaction? It may not be malfeasance, but it may not be the experience that the parents expected. And I don't know. I don't know.
Well, to answer her question, she needs to talk to the daycare provider first, and talk to her and just tell her why she thinks it's inappropriate. And if, assuming that won't go well, which I'm going to assume that won't, you just tell the daycare provider, by the way, I will be also telling the parents, and those are the people to talk to, the parents who are taking their children there.
Yeah. So, and like this is a much smaller scale, right? But this is what I don't know. This is what my kid in that type of situation means to me, right? Like I had and she had been there for, I don't know, it wasn't too long of a time, but my wife and I were both working, right? And I came home. I came up to the daycare to pick her up, and my daughter was crying on the stairs when I got there. And I said, well, what happened? Is everything okay? And she goes, yeah, she does that. I said, what do you mean she does that? It's like, yeah, she does it most of the day. I said, are you serious? And like my heart fell to my feet that I had let my daughter be somewhere where she was miserable and crying. I mean, the daycare lady didn't do anything wrong, right? My daughter was just miserable there. And I felt so guilty that I had let my daughter stay in a situation that I knew nothing about for weeks. And I think that the very same thing applies. Like if you have any reason to think that where we got trouble, right? Like the line is, are the children being taken care of emotionally, spiritually, and physically, right? And if any of those things aren't happening, I as a parent would want to know that.
Yeah.
And so I tell the parents, like, what are you gonna lose a friend? Between the profanity-laced woman that doesn't care for kids. I mean, we can talk to her. You can still love on her. But the answer is you need to tell their parents. They need to know that. Like if that was happening to my kid, I'd be devastated if I didn't know that.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. Eric?
Well, this is. Oh man, I would rarely just skip the person that I have conflict with, but this is one of those times that I might just skip the lady and just go straight on to authorities. DHS would be one place to contact. If you can get a hold of the parents of the kids, let them know what's going on. Yeah, go ahead and record this. Hey, can you tone it down or anything like that? It's, hey, I just called DHS because what you're doing is entirely inappropriate to children, and get your act together. But, they're going to come investigate you.
All right, you're full on do you hit the authorities?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Do you think a godless society gives a rip if someone's cursing? I mean, we care because we're really sensitive to that. Do you think? I mean, I honestly don't know. Does DHS?
So the question is whether either the parents or DHS, do they really care that someone's swearing at their kids?
For example, I grew up in a home where most parents asked their children to stay away from me because I learned the words at home. So they wouldn't have cared if I learned it at daycare. They were like, hey, that's a new one, good one, Dan.
Being in the foster homes myself, I've been down that road, and a lot of those staff members that are in those society's gotten so far off. It's really, really bad, and so I just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my whole family are police officers, mom and dad, and both of my brothers.
So they don't curse.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, so that's where I learned it. But no, and there's there's laws against this stuff. So I mean, if you call the authorities, that's not 911. But if you call the authorities, they'll come out, and yeah, I mean, you can't just attack a child like that. That is against the law. And the fact that she can hear her screaming and cursing, that's disturbing the peace. I mean, she's breaking laws.
Can you go slap her?
No, you can't. Now, the whole eye for eye thing, it breaks down pretty quick.
Exactly.
But no, because I think the route that you were saying earlier about you go and speak to them, that's church discipline, right? And so when I first heard that, yeah, for sure. Now, look, if this woman's not a Christian, and I think there's a Christian way to do this, mind you. You don't go up there and start a fight. But yeah, you say, look, I hear you over there, and not just alluding to the fact. I hear what you're doing. This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
What you're doing is wrong. And you're hurting those kids. You have to stop doing that. I'm
Yeah, I
going
think
to call the police.
you got to give her the chance to change.
Right. And so,
Before, that's my thought. I mean,
right. And you do unto others the way that you would have others do unto you. I mean, if you were in that situation, what would you have them? What would you have someone
If
do
my
unto
daughter's
you?
in the middle of that, I'm not giving them a chance to change. My daughter's out of it.
Oh no, I'm with you. Trust me,
I'm
my
not-
kids too.
It's your kids. Hello,
why did you make the
hello.
poor decision to put him in that
Hello.
childcare place?
Trust me, dude.
Yeah.
My kids will be gone.
Yeah.
Lickety split.
Yeah,
And but that being said, I think still, yeah, you have a duty to go to that person and to confront them. And this is Christian life.
But speaking of Christian life, it doesn't matter whose child it is our brother and sister in Christ.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, you gotta defend them.
we've got to do something. We just can't let it fly by.
I'm not saying a 6-month chance to change. I'm saying next time I hear it, that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
I think 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Is plenty of time.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the next time I hear this, by the way, I have a cell phone, and they're on speed dial,
Or if they
Yeah.
argue,
and I'm
with
reporting you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's ultimatum.
Yeah. It is an ultimate.
That's human life.
You should try to tell the parents what you've been hearing because they should be aware that their trusted caregiver loses control of her emotions and takes out her frustrations on their children. If the situation is as ugly as you describe, those kids must be terrified of her. If that's not possible, Child Protective Services should be notified because the environment is not emotionally healthy for little children. I agree with that. I'm going to make a small caveat because you're hearing one side of the story of a lady that I mean, you just don't know. I don't know. I feel like you don't know her motivation for doing this, right? Like, if you showed up at the wrong time at my house, I may be strongly talking to my children. I don't know, profanity maybe not, right? But like, I may be yelling at my kids for if they're running in the middle of the street or have caused some kind of outrageous thing that their attention needs to be kept. And so, like, I'm just saying, I clear cut, but like I said, I just feel like sometimes that's unfair. If you came to my house at a certain time, you probably see me yelling at my kids. It happens sometimes. So anyway, that's my caveat.
Okay.
Why don't you back me up on this?
No, I mean, there's a difference. Right, you could speak to the motivation of the person that has the problem. Maybe she just hates the daycare, doesn't want a daycare next to her, and is trumping stuff up. I suppose that's possible. But then again, civil authorities do straighten that stuff out, right? Like, they're going to check it out and say, hey, is this realistic? They're not just going to go arrest the lady and kick the kids out. They'll try to validate it. And so I suppose there is a point where hopefully the right authorities kind of set that out, and maybe your advice to this woman gives the daycare lady a chance to get a fair vet. That could be too. I think you have a responsibility. Well, one of the things that we really just flat out, I think you have a responsibility to talk to somebody, even if it's as you're calling them. I think you have know it's you, know why, and then say, if I'm seeing this wrong, this will get straightened out. But this is what I'm hearing, and this is what I'm calling.
Yeah.
I just think there are too many times, which actually I think translates. We talk about in the negative, but it translates in the positive too. Where we don't do the positive thing either because we wait on somebody else to do it. And on the negative side, we call somebody else, and then they clean up messes or they handle situations. I'm not saying jump into a middle of a fisticuffs somewhere, but like, you didn't give it a shot.
No.
You didn't give any comment. I think you have a responsibility. frankly, it's just the thing to do to at least tell somebody what you got going on.
Well, that has to be a lot of the truth too. Like, look at how many of the folks in our authority, like in our civil authority, are. I think I take issue with what you're doing. Let's talk about that. Hey, by the way, are you crazy or on drugs? I just want to know ahead of time so I know what we're getting into.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a conversation, right? That I deserve to have with you and you deserve to have with me, right? It is a mutual respect thing. Like, hey, I feel like you're yelling at them kids too much and that profanity is a bit much, don't you think? What's going on at your place? You know what I'm saying? There could be some deep-seated stuff that you just by asking open up a floodgate for a conversation.
Right.
Or they could just be mean-spirited woman that shouldn't be watching kids.
And it may or may not change the outcome of you calling the authorities,
Yeah.
right? But like, they are still people, sinful or otherwise. Like, you're in that boat too, buddy. It may just not be in the same way. You just may be more
The
comfortable.
Lord
with it.
gave you a backbone. Get up there and ask a guy what's going on in his life, you know?
Yeah. I'm not changing I think the outcome of you contacting somebody. I think it does behoove you to go have the conversation.
That's right.
There might be some consequences.
There might be.
So it's not,
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Dear Live from the Past, I'm a 22-year-old college student. My boyfriend of 7 years and I are engaged.
Of course.
Nicely done, 7-year boyfriend, man. Holy cow. Because we are high school sweethearts, we have watched each other grow into the people we are today. For the most part, I'm very proud of the person he has become. When I quit my full-time job to continue my education, he stepped up to support me. I never asked for it, nor did I expect it from him. Liam, he's in parentheses, he's probably the offender, is very frugal. Cheap might be a better word. I never understood it because he makes enough money to support us both and put plenty into savings. However, I recently learned that every payday, his mother calls, and he goes to her house and gives her money. It wouldn't bother me if she was ill, unemployed, etc., but she's well off and earns a good living. He has a shared bank account with his mom. She seems to call him only on payday.
I didn't see that coming.
She seems to call him only on payday, every payday, without fail. She also seems to have more control of his spending than he does. He won't pay his bills without first consulting her. She was very, very clear when she told him that he had to spend too much, that he spent too much on my engagement ring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to come between Liam and his mom, but I'm not sure I can marry them both. It's not that I want his money, but after we're married, I feel the husband and wife should share bank accounts and bills, not my husband and his mom. Do I have a right to be concerned with this matter?
Let me take a little bit of a stand on that one.
Let me tell you something.
So, Liam, you are planning on taking one of God's daughters for your own. You are therefore meant to break it off with your mother. You're 24 years old. You have a full-time job. Whoever the gal is that wrote into us, yeah, that's ridiculous. He needs to grow up. He needs to stop being a little boy and lean on mom and dad.
What if he's really bad with money,
It
Booba?
does not matter.
What if he otherwise he gambles it away? I don't know.
If he has been spending this much time with his mom and hasn't learned a thing about her great advice on finances, then he's never going to learn.
He buys Chia Pets by the truckload. He's just an idiot.
That's fine.
He can't control it, so he lets his mom do it.
Then he needs to sit down with the person who sent a letter to us and then work out his finances with his partner, who is going to be his wife. She is ultimately going to be under him. She is going to be in his household. It needs to be something where both of them work together. She obviously has.
Who loves Chia Pets? Together as a team, they're just terrible.
Fine. Then they're going to learn the hard way. They're going to learn the hard way that Liam can't spend all of his money on truckloads of Chia Pets.
That's why he lets his mom do it.
Maybe what he can do is he can take the money that he's been giving to his mother and budget that for Chia Pets rather than everything else.
All right, now hold on a second. First of all, what do I care that he's giving money to his mom? If that's what he wants to do, I don't care. The issue I think the thing I take issue with is that is the separation between like if they're walking into a marriage and she doesn't feel like she's a part of that at all or understand what's going on and is separate from it. That's the issue to me. A guy wants to give money to his mother. I don't know that I care, but they need to agree to that. Right. That needs to be something that they mutually agree. Yeah, we'll keep dumping money to your mom. I think the shared bank account is going to have to stop at the point they get married. Do I think he's doing it right now? He's not married, right? He's not under it. If he wants to do that, he can if he wants to. But yeah. My concern would be on her part that it doesn't sound like she's asked him about it. Like it sounds like she's concerned about it, but it seems like she's talked to him about it. So yeah, have the conversation with him. And I would need to know that walking into the marriage to know, like, if this is going to be a deal where you're not going to talk to me about our finances and you're going to share a bank account with your mom, that's kind of a deal breaker. I feel like that's not going to work out because you're being dishonest with me. You're not willing to share your life with me. That's not what you're doing. To Buva's point, scripturally, you gotta leave the nest, man. You can't cling to something else and not leave the nest. But yeah, I mean, is he a little eccentric with his bank account with his mom? Yeah, but
Hey, what about my insinuation that he's a spendthrift?
well, maybe he is. She ought to know that.
Yeah, I think that it boils back. Oh, go ahead.
Wait, here's the deal. Whatever, and it's something you can live with, or it's not. Make your call, right? But like, I know that's the reality.
Actually, I've outed myself. My wife handles the finances because I have a chia problem. What I really wanted was support, and what I got was stigma. So I'm done sharing for the day.
Well, she definitely needs to have a conversation with the guy. He's been honorable in letting her go to school full time. She started dating him when she was 15. They've been together. That's all she knows in the dating world. You know, I mean, it's just that's her whole world. She needs to have the conversation, though, to know if this is the future, that's what it's looking like. I'm kind of reading between the lines. I'm going to guess they need to repent and not be together. Moving, she needs to move out. I'm just guessing. I'm just guessing they're together. She knows an awful lot about timing of things that you wouldn't know if she's still living at mom's or an apartment or something. So first of all, he's not the right guy. I mean, it could be that she's 15 and then he's all she's known, so she just assumes that's all that's out there.
And she don't like chia pets.
Yeah.
Maybe
exactly.
Maybe it.
She's
Get a
sick
chia
of him.
pet.
And
talk
I
to
would
your
never
chia pet.
marry a person that doesn't like chia pets.
That's right.
Obviously.
It's character flaw.
But she needs to be okay separating this if he's not okay separating with his mom.
So, yeah, the ultimate advice back to the gal who wrote into us is you need to have a conversation with Liam that explains that he needs to love you financially. He needs to explain to you, where your finances come from.
And he has.
Don't
He's
tell
supporting
him
her
what to
going to
do.
school.
Don't tell him what to do. Have the conversation and let him explain himself.
Okay, fine. Fair enough.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is they need to have a conversation about finances.
That I agree with.
Because she's not comfortable.
But leave the chia pets out of the
Yeah,
conversation.
Leave the chia pets out of the conversation.
Yeah. Man,
Exactly.
woman, Holy Spirit, no chias.
Yeah, that's chia.
And since you're kind of need to be the queen bee of the household that you guys are going to put together.
Yeah, that's pretty
So,
key. Yeah.
It's absolute. It's a no conditions on that one. Mom is mom. He can still have a relationship with mom by all means, but as wife, you've got to be queen bee.
And the relationship does work like the chia pet. You gotta plant the seed and you gotta water it and it grows. So.
That's what I'm saying. Bobby's magic.
I told
was
you.
awesome.
He's magic
That
on the
was
microphone.
awesome.
With chia, you just kind of wipe it on there.
There comes a time to trim, though. You know.
And that, sir, is a metaphor for marriage.
A chia pet. Yeah.
I said the new series being formed right now.
Yeah, there we go.
Here we go. Secular says, you and Liam need to have a frank talk about money. There may be a reasonable explanation why he gives his mom money every payday. She may invest it for him. But you'll never know if you don't ask. While Mama may not have been overjoyed at the so she's not what I'd call a miser. That said, I cannot stress enough how important it is for you and Liam to be on the same page when it comes to finances and how decisions will be made after your marriage. Premarital counseling covers subjects like this because marriages have been known to fail when couples disagree about money.
All right. We got time for one more.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
Dear Live from the Past, I'm a contractor. My job requires me to stay at a job site for 3 days to 6 months. I am happily married with one child who is grown, gone, and has a child of his own. My son and I are estranged. I've had no contact in 10 years. When making small talk on the job site, inevitably the question comes up, do you have kids? I don't want to get into that part of my life, but I also don't want to alienate people who are trying to be friendly. If I say no, I'm lying. If I say yes, it opens a can of worms like, where does he live? Do you see him often? If I reveal that I'm a grandparent, it can get especially uncomfortable.
It is kind of
Tricky
sticky.
times.
It is sticky.
Just say, hey, I'm sorry. We don't talk much. I really can't. I
You
don't
should
know.
take the clues that you're being given that you should probably figure out how to get not estranged of your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't be, I mean, what's wrong with having a grown son and being a grandparent? These are not bad things.
No, but I think to what Dan's saying is like, what's also wrong with saying, yeah, we don't talk that often. I'm not sure.
I don't talk. I got people in my family I don't talk to that often. It's not for any ill will. It's just kind of how it happens.
Yeah, if somebody brought that up to me, I wouldn't just be like, how dare you? Let's talk about exactly what's gone wrong in your relationship with your son for the next 24 hours because we'll be sitting here talking to each other on a contract site.
You don't know where he lives?
Well, if the two lives have gotten active and kind of grown off in different directions, it's understandable. But, but if they haven't, then
I don't know that I've ever had I'm close with my family. My kids are still in the house. I don't know that I've had anybody because I admitted to having kids, that they're prone to digging deep about, well, what's the health of your relationship with them? Just answer people can understand when you're being guarded, right? Just don't share too much to open up something, but I don't think you need to hide the fact that you have a kid.
Yeah.
So
never hide it. No.
Yeah. Now, before I came into full-time ministry, I was a general contractor. And so I can tell you, part of that, what he's saying, I work on job sites sometimes from 3 days to 6 months. That's an important part of the backstory, because what he's saying is we get into the weirdest conversations about our lives. And so if someone asks that, that's one of the first things. You got a family? Yeah. I mean, you never met the framer. You got to get to know the guy so you don't get – yeah, it's that bad. And so we we have conversations like that. And really, I think because I've seen that 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I know that guy 100 times over. What he's saying is it hurts to talk about that relationship, because that speaks to something that he regrets in his life.
Yeah.
And that's pain that brings up. And it's not that he probably doesn't want to say, I have a son.
Yeah.
He wants to say with pride that he has a son and that his son loves him. And, I think that, my advice for a man in that situation is part of how these relationships get off track is you don't know how to talk to somebody intimately and openly. And you need to learn how to talk to someone. And maybe this is a stepping stone to say, I mean, look, it's not for everybody. Okay. But, but generally, you're going to meet some people, and you need to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, I have a son, and, I messed up here and here, and we have a bad relationship because of that. And I don't like talking about it because it hurts. And you'd be amazed. People are more gracious than we imagine. If you have the minerals to take that step in a conversation, you'll be amazed at what you'll hear coming back.
Oh, sure.
Another guy typically saying, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's where that growth happens, and where those wounds start to heal when you can start dealing with them like a man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny how true that is, because, I mean, I spent, I don't know, the last 12 years in the construction industry, right? And it's almost a sitcom the way that it works back, and then they'll be still at that same job after that 30 years, wondering what happened, and wondering why, and it's almost true. I mean, consistently every job site, it's almost the truth, right? And it's so funny that if you can have that conversation, maybe you can start catching guys, before the regret shows up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That you can have open, honest conversations about your family and about, man, I feel like you've been working quite a lot, man. How's your time with your kids? I have that conversation with all kinds of people, right? Because I was convicted of it, that I knew when I had children, it was going to be an issue for me if I did not carve the time out on purpose, right? I picked certain activities that I was going to do with my girls, and it was going to happen every other day regardless. I'm always going to do baths, and that's what I did. And I said, as soon as they were born, I'm taking it, because I knew if I didn't, then a dude's life shows up, and you start having to work late and go out of town for jobs, and church activities get busy and whatever, and all of a sudden, your kids are just kind of floating in the back. And it's so funny that he's right. That conversation is constant and true, a lot of across a lot of folks in especially the building trades. It seems to be very, very true.
Yeah. And actually, it's weird that sometimes in life that we treat as if we're not living where we work too, right? And that was, we're like, if you don't want to talk about it, don't talk about it. But you're absolutely right. That's most of your life, and a good portion of your life, I guess, is at that job site with people. And you're right. You got to make distinctions between the guy that's there for a few days putting in the sprinkler heads,
right.
And,
how you been?
but the truth is, back to what you were saying, you might have guys that have been doing the same work for 30 years a bunch of other dudes that were also doing the same work for 30 other years, and they didn't really have a life that they could have been living kind of together that allows you to have those types of moments that you don't have because you've kind of written off the potential for those having there. There's a way that you're trying to represent what's going on with your life as opposed to actually living a life, a true, honest life with other guys that happen to be in that same place. And like, you want a convenient group of people to be talking to. How about the people that are living the same life that you're living?
Yeah.
That's a good spot for it.
Yeah, this is vocation. Where does God call you to in life?
Yeah.
You know, he calls you to family. You know how you know? Well, you got one.
Yeah,
You
right.
know, wake up, look over. Yeah, he's called you to be a
There they
husband
are.
or a wife.
Look at
you know?
that.
Yeah. But you're a Christian at work. You know, at home, not when you're at church on Sunday, not even for any small part. But when you're on the job site, when you're at your office or whatever it is that you do for a living, yeah, if you're wondering if God's putting someone in your life for you to minister to, if you can look around and you see somebody, that's someone that God's put in your life to minister to.
There he goes, right there.
You know, we talk about a lot about like, oh, do you feel called to something?
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's always that's the question we have today, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the right question.
Yeah.
I mean, a good question is maybe the best place to start.
Right.
But that's not the one to have. The question is, look, does God call me to minister to people? Yes.
Yeah.
He asked me to love God, love my neighbor. Okay. How am I going to do that? Treat other people the way I want to be treated. Help. You don't step back from that conversation because it's socially awkward. It is, dude.
Yeah.
It's totally socially awkward. So now that that's on the table, no excuse.
Yeah.
Go and talk to that person. They're hurting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, go and get to know the people that you're there with. Do it and be amazed. I mean, you know, like why are me and Bobby here? Because we go and talk to people.
Right.
And then they talk and they tell us what's you know on the streets, what's in their life. And you know what? A lot of time it's socially awkward.
Yeah, right. Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Not for me.
For them,
No,
not for
Not
Bobby.
for me. Not for me. not
Totally,
at
he
all.
doesn't have that. He was born without that part. It's in your adenoids. But he, but for the rest of it, it's socially awkward. But you know what? More so for the other person in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
But just getting it out there, you just throw it out there, and you never know how God's going to use it.
Right.
You know?
Secular says, yes, I got a what was the question? This was, do you have any advice for me?
Yeah.
And Secular says, yes, I do. Be honest and say, I have a son and we are estranged. Okay. You don't have to give more details than that, and you may be surprised when the person you're talking to says, me too. The situation is not as uncommon as you think, as I discovered not long ago when I attended a luncheon and realized I attend a lot of luncheons as a working man as well, and realized that the common denominator among the guests was they were all estranged from their children or stepchildren.
Holy cats.
See, here's the deal. Kind of what you said earlier is you've got to carve out time. You have to, or you will be that person 20 years down the road. You know, I mean, I made intentional decisions. We started this church 12 years ago, and I made intentional decisions then because it is a high stress because their dad's church is not home. It's everybody else, and so I made our church is smaller than it could be because I made a choice that my family was first. And we have weighed that. Yeah, we have weighed that many times through the years. And we're having the conversations right now. My youngest is a senior in high school, and I'm ready to like put my foot on the accelerator. I've been like waiting for 12 years for this, but it's like it's finally come. But I would not have done it any different at all. I mean, it is nothing's more important than we have this great relationship.
Yeah.
My daughters and I, and because we spent time, it was intentional, which means I didn't spend time doing other things with other people.
See, and I feel like that if you this is maybe the way that the Lord has bent me, but like if you want to have conversations that open up a big wide open door to the kingdom of God is a key, because it will inevitably lead to them asking, why is it different at your house? And I can say that's not because anything I did, right? Like I feel like the Lord laid out a plan, and I'm like, I shoot for 100% obedience. I fail at that, but I shoot again at 100% every time I fail. And for some reason, I know that it's different at my house. That's just what I know. I know there's joy here, and I know that I take off random days just to hang out with them, right? And like, you work 60 hours a week and you're miserable, man. Let's just talk about this. Let's talk about this. What's going on?
Yeah, it's not the money they're after.
Well, that's the thing. But
the
they
kids and
that's
the wife.
thing
I
is
mean,
they totally like the man, the provider. You know, you got to hit them on their level. Like that's what they feel like they're needed for. And I'm like, man, you are so much. God created you so much more dimensional than that, right? Like there's joy in their life that is just it's uncountable, and they wouldn't have a pot to piss in. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there's joy there because Christ is there, and because their family did what God designed them to do.
Yep.
And so I promise you, like if in a job site situation, especially if you're in a blue collar job, I'm just telling you, talk to them about their kids. They'll light up anyway, and they'll just try to save them from that regret of missing out on their kids growing up.
You've been listening to Live from the Path. You're on the podcast because we can't say piss on KTIA. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure to check out the website, livefromthepath.org, for clips from the show. Go hook up with the Thankful Leper, thethankfulleper.squarespace.com. Also on the Facebook page. If you like what we like the Thankful Leper. Thanks so much, Kevin and Bobby, for coming and joining us tonight.
There's nothing in my trunk, man. Open up the trunk.
Home Depot. The more carpet you buy, the more you'll save on professional installation. So let's get more rooms for our money. Get the peace of mind that comes with a lifetime guarantee on installation. Then, let's get it done for free when you spend $50. Let's do this. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. Valid through October 1st, U.S. only. See store for details.
Budgeting often gets a bad rap. Spreadsheets, itemization, no thanks. But what if your budget could be based on one number? One number that already accounts for all your goals, like going on a weekend trip with friends and helping you repay your student loans. At LearnVest.com, we want to help you simplify your money life so you can get where you want to go. Could a one-number strategy work for you? Learn more by clicking on the banner or heading to LearnVest.com to start for free today.